Mr. President, we thank you for convening this meeting at this critical time. We also express our thanks to Special Coordinator Sigrid Kaag for her presentation and efforts, and Daniel Levy for his important briefing. We also acknowledge the presence and testimony of Noah Argamani and echo her calls for honoring the ceasefire. Mr. President, Israel's plan is clear in Gaza, in East Jerusalem, and in the rest of the West Bank. Get rid of Palestinian demography to seize Palestinian geography. It has this recurrent dream that it will end this conflict through the disappearance of the Palestinian people. That will never happen. It will not happen. We have often repeated, there is not a people too many in the Middle East. There is an independent state missing. The failed recipes of the past will never deliver a different future. Our history is filled with wars that Israel promised will be decisive, and they were not. Of mass forcible displacement that was supposed to end the Palestine question, and it did not. The idea that more injustice, more brutality, more oppression would lead to peace is madness. The idea that more killing, more maiming, more displacing will bring security is delusional. There is no military solution to this conflict, only a political one. As we sit here and speak, on the ground, Israel is trying to make sure that political solution, the only one that leads to peace, is not viable anymore. It is destroying the two-state solution in the hope to make its unlawful annexation of Palestinian land permanent. It continues entertaining the idea of emptying the Gaza Strip of its people through so-called voluntary migration, the code name for mass forcible displacement. It is conducting a large-scale military assault against the Palestinian people in the West Bank, notably against refugee camps, which has led to the largest displacement of Palestinian population there since 1967, with over 40,000 Palestinians displaced, and now stating it will not allow their return and intends to stay there for a year. While the Arab world are trying to find a way out of the hell Israel left behind in Gaza, Israel is unleashing hell in the West Bank. When we speak of the utter and wanton destruction of Gaza, of human tragedy and people's ordeal, of the devastation of how Gaza was made unlivable, let us not forget Israel's responsibility as it deliberately spread destruction across all of Gaza with the very purpose of making it unlivable. Mr. President, there is only one way forward. Preserve the ceasefire in Gaza and ensure its full implementation in line with Council Resolution 2735, and end the escalation and aggression in the West Bank, leading to a permanent cessation of hostility. Ceasefire has to be permanent. Reconstruction of Gaza while its people remain in Gaza, and while they participate and benefit from such reconstruction. The Palestinian government assumes its full responsibilities throughout the OPT and should be enabled and supported in this endeavor. A cessation of all the policies that entrench the occupation and conflict instead of ending them. Ending the occupation, achieving the independence of the State of Palestine, and implementing the two-state solution. Mr. President, enough bloodshed, enough agony, enough suffering. Let me repeat that. Enough bloodshed, enough agony, enough suffering. Israel has killed at least 50,000 Palestinians, maimed, displaced, arbitrarily arrested, tortured, and caused suffering for millions of Palestinians. Our children have been killed, amputated, orphaned, displaced, traumatized. This has to stop. It has to stop. We have seen in recent days another attempt by the Israeli government at dehumanizing the Palestinian people as a whole and at justifying the killing of our children. There can be no justification for harming children, for harming all children from everywhere. Israel killed thousands of Palestinian children, often in atrocious conditions. Liane Hamada, 15 years old, was with her mother, father, her 3 siblings, and her cousin in a car, evacuating from Gaza City in the morning. She called emergency services after her parents and her siblings were shot dead. And I quote, "They are shooting at us," she screamed. "They are shooting at us. The tank is next to me. We are inside the car, and the tank is next to us."
الو مرحبا. الدبابة جنبي. انتوا متخبيين؟ في السيارة احنا جنبينا الدبابة. انتوا جوا السيارة؟
Here is the recording as you heard it, her call. After this salvo of bullets, Liane went quiet. A few moments later, her 6-year-old cousin, Hind Rajab, picked up the phone. Let me show you her picture. She said to the dispatcher, "They are dead. I am in the car. The tank is next to me. It is moving. It is very, very close and moving. Talk to me. When someone can you hang up? Please come take me, please. It's almost night. The night is approaching. I am scared. Please come, take me." Listen to the voice of Hind Rajab and imagine her agony and the agony of her family and of thousands upon thousands of Palestinian families.
ميتين؟ وهم هلا بعد بالسيارة؟ هذا جنبية. الدبابة وين؟ جنبية. الدبابة جنبكم؟ عم تتحرك ولا واقفة؟ نزل حدا منها؟ هي بتتحرك. تتحرك؟ هي بتتحرك جنب السيارة ولا هي جاية من ورا السيارة أو من قدام السيارة؟ من قدام السيارة. هي جاية عليكي من قدام السيارة الدبابة؟ قريب كتير؟ كتير. وعم تمشي؟ ما بدنا نخاف. انتي معي. انا معك يا عمري. انا معك. انا معك ليجي حدا ياخذك، ما بدي اسيبك لحالك. لما يجي حدا ما بتفكري ايه؟ لما يجي حدا يكون هي بتفكري. لا انا بدي معاكي.
I will stay with you to make sure you're okay. Stay with me. Stay with me. Oh, sweetheart, I'm here with you. I will not leave you alone. Come, take me.
The dispatcher stayed on the phone with her, trying to reassure her, God will protect us, playing counting games. The Palestinian Red Crescent sent an ambulance with 2 emergency respondents, Yusuf Zino and Ahmed Al-Madhoun, to rescue her. They never made it. It took 12 days till rescue teams were able to reach the area. They found the 2 members of the rescue team dead, and they found Hind, her aunt, her uncle, her 4 cousins, all dead. Our children deserve compassion and solidarity. They deserve compassion and solidarity. They are born into a terrible reality, and one generation after another fall victim to it. They are not less deserving of your outrage for their killing and their inhumane treatment. All families are entitled to dignified burial of their loved ones, all of them. And as you assert this principle, remember the images of Palestinian mothers and fathers collecting what remained of the bodies of their children in plastic bags, or carrying their corpses while being displaced for miles. Remember the thousands that remained under the rubble because we were not allowed to rescue them. Remember the hundreds of Palestinians' corpses still detained by Israel. When Israel decides to delay the release of hundreds of prisoners, including women and children, that is collective punishment. Israel has abducted thousands of civilians, and they were subjected to inhumane treatment and then released or disappeared. Did you see the images of our released prisoners? Often starved, with marks and scars on their bodies. Did you know Israel subjected them to beating before their release, or to humiliating and degrading treatment, and makes them wear clothes with provocative slogans on them and film them? Or these images never made it to you? Have you seen them? I'm sure you did. Israel considers these kinds of actions, all these actions, as normal and justified. Aren't all Palestinians presumed guilty by Israel? Do you? As my friend from Algeria said, no double standards. If you care about humanities and international law, don't exclude the Palestinians. Be fair. Deal with everyone, especially the children. Be fair. Justice does not serve only one group of people and ignore other children. It serves all of them. It is always strange to see Israeli officials who have called for unjustified genocide speak of the need for de-radicalization. The most extremist views are out there in the public sphere, including that Palestinians do not exist or do not deserve to exist, that raping and torturing prisoners is justified, that starving Palestinian civilians is morally justified, that all our children are guilty. And these are not only theoretical views. Israel is acting upon them. And if it is the one committing the action, it is no longer barbarism. To the contrary, it is the only to safeguard civilization. This is a narrative that countries in these halls know well, a narrative to justify the oppression of entire nations. Mr. President, what we need is not more violence. It is to break the cycle of violence. That's what we need. We can always find justification for revenge, but will it ever solve the problem? We owe it to our peoples, to our children, to end this conflict, not find reasons to continue perpetuating it. All children deserve to live in freedom and dignity and security. All children. We have repeated many times how important it was to be consistent. The rules of humanity and legality do not change with nationality, religion, or race. Human dignity should always be preserved, and civilians should always be protected, not killed, not paraded, not ill-treated. The sanctity of human life should be respected, and the respect owed to the dead should be honored. We reject all actions that run counter to these principles. As we ask you to know the stories of our children and to remember their names, we offer our condolences to the Bibas family. Nothing justifies what happened to Kfer and Ariel Bibas or their mother, Sherry. They should have been safe in their homes with their families, as our children should be safe in their home with their family. Challenge those to repeat the sentiment of humanity that we have, if they have any of it. We are collectively failing them, failing to offer the protection they deserve, failing to stop the suffering, failing to offer a different future. In Gaza, the loss of children and the loss experienced by children can barely be grasped. What they need now is not further uncertainty, but the knowledge that the world will be by their side. Mr. President, we said from the first day this assault will be against the Palestinian people as a whole. Through indiscriminate killing and wanton destruction, we said only a ceasefire can allow Palestinian and Israeli families to be reunited in life, can allow to put an end to the mass starvation of Palestinians, can allow to stop the effort for their forcible displacement. We said that Israel's goal was the remains annexation, and that after Gaza, Israel will intensify its assault on the West Bank. How many hostages were released in military actions, and how many hundreds of Palestinians have perished in these military attacks that were supposed to rescue the hostages but led to the death of many of them? And how many hostages have been released through ceasefire agreements? Ceasefire works. Ceasefire saves lives. For the US, the conclusion of this agreement and its implementation is about the hostages. But for Israel, was it? The next few days yet again test its true priorities. Will they destroy the ceasefire and resume fighting? Or will all of you, will all of us make the ceasefire permanent to save lives? Mr. President, the fate of our people is not to be killed and be displaced and be occupied and oppressed. No people would accept such a fate. Help us to demonstrate to our people that there is a peaceful path that leads to freedom and justice and peace. Palestinians and Israelis are not destined to be eternally at war. Peace is possible. Peace is possible. And after all this suffering, peace is indispensable. It is indispensable. It is imperative. We need it. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. Thank you.